Think about the last time you were completely, truly alone. A closed door. An empty room. A moment where no one could see you, hear you, or know what you were doing. It probably happened today. You take it for granted. That invisible bubble of space you can step into whenever you want. But here is something strange. For almost the entire history of our species, that bubble did not exist. Not the door, not the empty room, not the private moment. For an ancient human, being completely alone was not a comfort you reached for. It was something that could get you killed. They did not have privacy the way you do. In fact, for 100,000 years, they had almost no privacy at all. So how did they live like that? Every moment of their lives watched by someone. And why did they want it that way? The answer flips everything you think about being alone completely upside down. Start by deleting the walls. All of them. No bedroom door, no bathroom lock, no fence, no private office. Ancient humans lived in small bands. Maybe a few dozen people who traveled, hunted, ate, and slept together, day after day, year after year. Their shelters were open, a cave, a lean-to, a ring of huts around a shared fire. There was no such thing as your room. There was barely such a thing as your spot. Everyone lived pressed together in the same small pool of space and firelight. From the moment you were born to the moment you died, you were almost never more than a few steps from another human being. The idea of walking off, closing a door, and being completely alone for an hour would have seemed not just impossible, but bizarre. And, honestly, a little terrifying. Now think about what that actually means, hour by hour. In a group that small and that close, there were no secrets of the body, and almost none of the mind. You woke up surrounded by people. You ate in full view of everyone. When you were sick, they saw it. When you cried, they heard it. Arguments happened in the open. Falling in love happened in the open. Even the most intimate parts of life, sex, giving birth, dying, happened with the group close by, often in the very same space. There was no stepping away for a, quote, private moment, because there was almost nowhere private to step to. Your entire life, from the embarrassing to the sacred, played out in front of the same few dozen faces. To us, that sounds like a nightmare. To them, it was simply what being alive was. So why put up with it? Why not just wander off for some peace and quiet? Because in the ancient world, leaving the group was one of the most dangerous things a human could do. Out there, alone, you were prey. A single human by themselves is a slow, soft, weak animal with no claws and no fur, easy work for a big predator in the dark. But a group? A group has many eyes, many hands, many voices to raise the alarm. Together they could keep a fire burning all night, take turns, watching, and fight off things that would happily eat one person alone. Add the cold, bodies huddled close share warmth, and the truth becomes clear. Being surrounded was not annoying. Being surrounded was staying alive. Every ounce of privacy you gave up bought you a share of the group's protection. This is the part that is hardest for us to feel today. For an ancient human, being alone was not relaxing. It was the single scariest situation you could be in. To be separated from your band, lost, or cast out was very often a death sentence. No one to watch your back while you slept. No one to help if you broke a leg or got sick. No one to share food when your own hunt failed. This is why, deep in our wiring, humans still hate feeling truly alone and rejected. That ache of loneliness you feel is not weakness. It is an ancient alarm bell, installed over countless generations, screaming a very old message. Get back to the group, because out here on your own, you do not survive. Solitude, to them, was not a treat. It was a threat. Because being alone was so deadly, groups had a weapon more feared than almost any other. They could make you leave. In a world with no jails and no police, one of the harshest punishments imaginable was exile, being cast out of the band to survive on your own. To be shunned was not just lonely, it was a slow, quiet death sentence, stripping away the protection, the shared food, and the warmth that kept a person alive. This is why what other people thought of you mattered so enormously. Your reputation was not about pride, it was about survival. Anger the group, break its trust too badly, and you could lose the one thing you could not live without: everyone else. In a life with no privacy, the opinion of the crowd was not background noise. It was the difference between life and death. There is another side to having no privacy. You also had almost no secrets. When a few dozen people live on top of each other for a lifetime, everyone knows everything about everyone. Who is lazy, who is brave, who is kind, who cannot be trusted. There was no hiding a bad temper or a selfish streak for long. The group saw it all, remembered it all, and treated you accordingly. In a strange way, this constant watching held everyone together. It made people cooperate, share, and pull their weight. because there was nowhere to hide from the consequences if they didn't. The endless visibility we would find suffocating was also a kind of glue. It kept a group of people who depended on each other for survival, honest, connected, and alive. So when did privacy actually begin? Slowly, and surprisingly recently. As humans settled down, built villages, and put up more solid homes, the first real walls appeared. And with them, for the first time, the ability to put a barrier between yourself and everyone else. Then came separate rooms inside those homes, dividing one shared space into private ones. Then doors that could close. Then locks. Each of these was a small revolution, a brick laid in the invisible bubble you now take completely for granted. But this took thousands of years to build up, a tiny, recent chapter compared to the vast stretch of time when humans lived with no walls at all. The private life you live today is not the natural human state. It is a brand new invention, still with the wrapping barely off. Zoom out, and the scale is staggering. For something like 100,000 years, humans lived their entire lives in the open, watched, together, with no true privacy at all. Compared to that, the age of walls and doors and locked rooms is a thin sliver of time at the very end. For nearly all of human history, a person could expect to be born, live, and die within arm's reach of other people every single day. The quiet, solitary, private life so many of us now enjoy, a bedroom of our own, a locked phone, hours spent completely alone, would have been almost unimaginable to the vast majority of humans who have ever lived. We are the strange ones. We are the first humans in history to be able to disappear. And here is the twist that turns the whole story around. Ancient humans feared being alone and craved the group. But us, we have flipped it completely. We now have so much privacy that many of us feel the opposite ache. Lonely, isolated, hungry for connection, in a world of closed doors and separate screens. We build walls to keep people out, then feel the sting of having no one close. An ancient human would look at our lives. A person eating alone, sleeping alone, spending whole days without touching another human, and see something genuinely frightening. What we call peace and quiet, they would call terrible danger. Both instincts live inside us still, the craving to be left alone, and the deep old fear of actually being alone. We spend our whole lives caught somewhere between the two. So how did ancient humans have privacy? For the most part, they simply didn't. And it was not an accident. It was the price of survival, paid gladly, because the alternative was so much worse. They traded away the private moment for the safety of the group, the warmth of the fire, and the certainty that if things went wrong, they would not face the dark alone. What you have today is the opposite bargain. You have gained the door, the empty room, the private life your ancestors never dreamed of. But every gift has a shadow, and the shadow of all this privacy is that the group is no longer always there. We want our solitude. We are still learning what it cost. So the next time you close a door and enjoy a moment completely to yourself, take a second to feel how strange and new that really is. For almost every human who ever lived, that door did not exist. That empty, peaceful, private room would have felt less like a comfort, and more like being cut off from everything that kept you safe. You are living a kind of life that is only a few thousand years old, resting on 100,000 years of people who never once knew what it felt like to be truly alone. Your privacy is a luxury bought by all of them. If tiny, mind-bending truths like this are your kind of thing, stick around. There are 100 more hiding inside your everyday life. Ever wondered what else you've never stopped to question?